Welcome everybody to Cinema Royale. I am Travis Hobson of PunchDrunkCritics.com, and you can probably tell from the big green face and the big red lips behind me, and we are going to be talking about She-Hulk, Attorney at Law. And the beautiful face above me on the screen belongs to my good friend Karen Peterson. What's up, Karen?
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. I got green behind me, purple above me. I'm digging it. I got a whole
It's a good
rainbow
combination.
spectrum here. I love it. Let's talk She-Hulk. Now, this one, you and I have seen the first four episodes, and the
Yeah.
first episode is out on Disney Plus this week. We've seen the first four, um, and this is one of those shows I think is going to be super divisive. I think it's going to be very divisive. I myself had to watch it twice. I watched through all four episodes twice. First time, I admit I wasn't really feeling it. First time, I was kind of like, okay, it's fine, but it's pretty missable, whatever. Second time I watched it, for whatever reason, I really dug it. I really dug it the second time. And yeah, I still think it's pretty lightweight, at least at this point. I
Mhm.
don't know how it'll be in the final, I think, five episodes or so. But the first four, I still think are pretty lightweight, but they're super fun. And I like the way it uses the law to kind of make fun of the entire Marvel universe, which is ridiculous when you think about it. And I like that aspect of it, as well as the way it kind of explores how tough it is to be a woman, not just in her profession, but also as a superhero, which is inherently masculine. So there's a lot of little things in here that I like about this movie. Most of all, Tatiana Maslany, who I think is great. Mark Ruffalo is fantastic in the scenes he has. Wong, of course, is great. And my favorite character emerges in episode four. I'm not going to talk about it. My favorite character arrives in episode four, and I hope is around for a long time. We'll see.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on She-Hulk?
I love it. I think in the first few minutes of watching the first episode, I was a little bit thrown off because what we've seen, not just in the movies, but what we've especially seen in the Marvel shows has been something, I don't know if I don't know if this is the right word, but something more polished,
Mhm.
more cinematic. It's like episodic movies is what
Yeah.
we've been getting up till now. This is very much a TV show.
It feels like a TV show.
Yeah, it feels like something that could just be, on network or cable TV. And something that probably 10 or 20 years ago, if they were making movies about female superheroes back then, this would have just gone on like, you know, TBS or something.
David E.
And
Kelly wishes he was doing She-Hulk.
it's so true.
It's so
Yes.
good.
Yeah. And so it's like I think once you get into the vibe of what the show is, it's much easier to settle in and just enjoy that it's just a really fun, it's entertaining. The episodes are only about a half an hour. It's a half-hour comedy series. And it works. Like some of the jokes are silly, but Tatiana Maslany as Jennifer slash She-Hulk, she's that's such perfect casting. She has just the exact right personality for it, and she really just sells the show. Like she makes it such a great thing. And then yeah, there's a lot of just fun cameos. Not a cameo of the week, of course, but but
I like that little bit of a joke that they had about that. It's like, this is still
mhm.
my show, kind of thing. Because that's
Yeah.
one of those criticisms that those David E. Kelly shows that I referenced, Ally McBeal to The Practice to even Boston
Mhm.
Boston Legal, they had that cameo of the week thing that they
Yes.
did all the time, and a lot of people didn't like it. But it's one of those things that they did because it would, pump up ratings and everything. But the cast sometimes got lost a little bit in it.
Yeah, definitely. And their stories would get overtaken by guest stars and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that there was a little jab at that. And I think just in general, like you mentioned, the idea, this theme of it's hard to be a woman, it's hard to be a professional woman in your 30s. And on top of that, to also be now entering the very masculine world of being a superhero and everything that comes with that, and the misogyny that is inherent in that sort of situation. Um, but she doesn't just get bogged down in, oh, poor me. That's what I think is so great. It's just like,
Yeah.
hey, this is the reality. This is what I live with.
Yep.
And I think that blend of humor and just kind of shrugging the shoulders is exactly the right the right tone for the show.
Yeah, those first episodes, first couple episodes where she's kind of hanging out with her cousin Bruce. We get the I like the way the first episode begins where they won't even get into the legal stuff because they know everybody's just gonna be sitting around wondering, well, how the not going to use She-Hulk? Like, how's this happening? Like, they have to go back and show it because they know what people are waiting on. But I like those episodes because they establish that she's not going to be just another Avenger.
Hmm.
Like, she's going to do the thing that she's been trained to do, which is law. You
Yeah.
know, she's going to help people in her own way. She's not going to be throwing punches. She's going to be throwing legal briefs. You
Yeah.
know, which I think is a really cool angle to have because if it was a guy show, he would have totally just become a vigilante or some shit.
Well, and look at what happened with the other Avengers. I mean, Tony was still
Right.
kind of running Stark Industries, but really he
Yeah.
wasn't.
Yeah,
Pepper
not
was,
really. Yeah, no. It was Pepper.
And
Pepper was running the company.
exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, and then Doctor Strange, he stopped being a doctor. He started
Yeah,
being, a
he
sorcerer.
didn't have doctor in his name anymore. He's not a doctor anymore.
Exactly. And it's like, yeah, and it's Admiral. I love the most of the Avengers, but yeah, so much of it is just they kind of give up who they were to take on this new persona. And she's just like, I worked really hard to get where I was. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah, no, it's a totally great idea, which is why I
Hmm.
like those times with her and Bruce, where he's kind of trying to tell her like this is the way things are going to be for you now, and
Yeah.
they kind of are, but she's doing it in her own way, which I think is really cool.
And I think that's awesome. And I know that episode one is out right now and people can watch it, but I don't want to give too
No,
much
no, no,
away. But I
no,
think
definitely
that
not.
the way that she approaches these abilities that she didn't ask for, that she didn't want, but I think that the way that she incorporates it into her life and the way that she's able to exercise control in ways Bruce isn't or wasn't or took a long time to get to makes so much sense. And her exploration of that and her explanation of it too, it's just like, yeah, that actually totally tracks, and it,
Yeah,
it's just it just makes sense. But I also like, just going back to the fact that she is a lawyer, I like the fact that what we're seeing now with the MCU is this world where they just go, well, superheroes exist. This is just part of our reality, and they need a different type of legal representation. So we're gonna give them that. So
yeah. No, it's one of those things that when you're just reading comics, you don't always think about. Like, it's like when they created like damage control, and it's like, well, there's all this damn destruction everywhere. Somebody's got to be around. There's got to be somebody who cleans it up. Like, there has to be
right,
somebody who does it, right? Like,
exactly.
these little things that you don't think about. These are the things that make details, that make worlds feel detailed and unique and special. And I like the fact that they're going through the legal part because this is the stuff that made the original John Byrne She-Hulk really fun, but also like the Dan Slott She-Hulk, which is the more recent one. The one that really brought the character back into the spotlight was the Dan Slott run, and it really focused on the legal stuff. And there are fun ways to explore the Marvel universe in this way, and we see it later on with an episode involving Wong, which I won't get into, but it's really fun. And the arrival of the Abomination, played by Tim Roth. There's some really funny stuff that you can do in here that doesn't diminish the MCU. Like, you can poke fun at it a little bit without diminishing it, and I think that's one of the good things that it does.
Exactly. Yeah.
What do you
Kind of
think
like
about
when
this?
Hawkeye, sorry.
I don't know. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, kind of like in Hawkeye when that opens on him being at a show of this Avengers
Right.
musical. That's totally something that would happen
That totally
in
happened.
life. And it just is one of those details. It's like, yeah, that makes sense.
What do you think about the stuff involving her and her dating life? Because that is a big aspect of the show as well. Is is her being a single woman in her 30s, also trying to find a relationship, which is obviously now more complicated now that she's She-Hulk. Some stuff I liked about it was her when she was just Jen Walters, and she was kind of realizing that people might like her or find her more attractive as She-Hulk than they ever did than when she was Jen. And there's some stuff she has to deal with in accepting that. She has a lot of vulnerabilities and apparently some self-confidence issues too, and this doesn't help.
Yeah. I think it was done very, very well. I'm interested to see where they go with it. Like how how that storyline continues. But I think just in general, this idea of her trying to date as a successful professional woman, um, it does come with its own set of issues and problems and challenges. But then on top of that, having this other thing where she realizes this alter ego persona that people pin on her. Like she's not different as She-Hulk. She's still her,
Hmm.
but because she just has this different type of look, and there's this assumption that that's a different person, and just the way that people react to She-Hulk versus Jennifer in a dating scenario, I thought was so cleverly handled, and it felt so real too.
Hmm.
Like, I mean, we're talking about superheroes and green people and stuff. Like, it's obviously not realistic,
Yeah.
but I think that the way that they handled some of those issues just made so much sense, and it just really rang true.
Yeah, the fact that she can put her in a profile that she is a successful attorney, and that doesn't really help her. Like that
No,
doesn't really help her in the
it
dating
actually
world at
is a
all.
barrier.
Right? It's a barrier, and it attracts like really awful men.
Mhm.
It doesn't help her at all to be that. You'd think that'd be the thing that would be like the hook, but in reality, and more times than not, it's not.
Exactly.
That's pretty crazy. Have you heard of the news about people already kind of review bombing the show on Rotten Tomatoes?
It
Are
is
you
like
are you surprised by
clockwork.
that? Are you surprised by that at all?
No, no, not even a little bit. I mean, that happens every time. And this isn't like, oh, wow, poor me or whatever, but it's every time there is an action type of, you know, franchise entry that has a woman in a lead role. This happens every single time.
Yeah, it's it's ridiculous. It's probably the same exact people. I'm sure they
Yeah.
did the same thing to Miss Marvel.
Yeah.
Um, it's never going to change.
No.
But anyway,
We come to expect it, and we just kind of write it off and just go, yeah, it's business as usual. It's disappointing that it still happens, but it's never going to stop.
yeah. What's your overall impression of the last three episodes without giving people anything away? Too spoilery.
I enjoyed it start to finish. I only got to watch the episodes one time. I didn't I didn't watch them
Yeah.
twice, but I'm looking forward to watching them again.
Yeah.
I think that it really does start to feel like most shows when they're new, even when they do the whole thing all at once and then put them out, you know, like this. I mean, they completed the episodes a while back, but I think that every new show takes a couple of episodes to really hit its stride. And I
Oh,
think that that's the case here too. I think by episode 4 it's like, yes, okay, this show understands what it is and it's really embracing its identity.
yeah. I love the fact that they have finally just embraced the fact that Wong is a comedy character.
Yep.
That Wong is just Benedict Wong is just so perfect at playing that character,
Hmm.
and he's better at just being funny because he's kind of ridiculous too. He's the master of the mystic arts, but he's not Doctor Strange. He's not
Right.
him. He's the Sorcerer Supreme. But he acts like he is, and he is. He lives that title. They're doing some really fun stuff with him, and every single appearance that he makes, no matter where it is, because he's actually getting around quite a lot.
He is. And everyone's been going like, what is he up to? And
Yeah,
I
it
think
seems
we're
like
going to
there's
get
something
more
up with
hints
him.
of that.
Yeah, there's some larger connections to the MCU here too that the show makes without going crazy with it, which is
It's
nice.
also fun to see what he does in his downtime.
It really kind of is. And he makes a new friend, which again, my favorite character.
Hilarious. So great.
What are your thoughts on Jamila Jamil as Titania, the superpowered influencer? A lot of split reactions to her.
I I feel like we haven't gotten enough yet, and I don't think that her introduction was handled as well as it could have been.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm holding off on having an opinion until we actually see where that storyline is going.
Mm,
But I do think that she could have been introduced in a more effective way.
yeah.
It was just kind of like rushed. And again, I don't want to say too much about the first episode,
Yeah.
because there are probably people watching that haven't seen it yet, but um I think that it just there wasn't enough information to make the scene fully work and to justify why certain things happen
Yeah.
in that
I
introduction.
would agree with that. What are your thoughts on this on the effects in the show though, because there's a lot of people that are upset about that. She-Hulk doesn't look very good. These effects don't look quite up to the normal Marvel standard. Honestly, I at first I was like, yeah, this doesn't look like some of the other Marvel shows, which we talked about, are kind of like 8 to 10 hour movies. This one actually, the effects look like a TV show, look like a TV show, and so they're probably not up to the usual standard. But I did not really find them to be that much of a distraction.
Yeah, I think once you get used to like, okay, this is what she looks like when she's She-Hulk, I think it's fine. And it becomes something that like I didn't really notice. And honestly, her design is the only thing that I would say, yeah, that looks more like a TV show than a movie. I think a lot of the other effects that are in it look really good,
Mm,
you know?
yeah.
So I think it's just and I don't even think it's her character design. I think it's more in the way that she moves. There's kind of an unnatural way
Mm.
to how she moves. It's a little slower. It kind of doesn't fit. But
Doesn't always look natural.
yeah, yeah. But ultimately, I think that they did a good job. I'm sure they did not have $200 million like a
No.
lot of the Avengers movies to do these effects. And I think it's not even just they did the best with what they had. I think they actually did pretty well. I think if you look at other, other effects in even big studio movies, I think this is right up there with, with a lot of those. Maybe not the MCU, but with other studio movies, I think it looks just as good.
I think it was writer Jessica Gao on the show. She's I think she said something today that they had to cut a lot in order to be able to fit the visual effects budget in order to
Wow.
so they had to do quite a bit of alteration. So yeah, I'm not surprised honestly,
Yeah.
and I'll be curious to see how that goes, how that trends for the rest of the show as well. The 5 episodes to go that we've seen. There's 8 left, I think, for everyone else. They only did the one this week, right? It wasn't like a two
I think
episode day.
so, yeah.
Okay, yeah, but yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes, especially with we know the arrival of Daredevil, who will be in the show as well. I'll just say it right now, they will probably bang
I hope
because
so.
they probably bang in the
I'm rooting
comics.
though for those two crazy kids.
In the comics, She-Hulk gets around. I think she will get around in this show too, probably a little bit, which is perfectly fine with me. I don't care.
That's something else that I really like is this does feel like it's not this isn't sanitized PG
Yeah,
Marvel. Like she swears, other people swear, she flips off Bruce, like there's
she
and
talks about
there's,
Cap's virginity.
yes, yeah, exactly. Like this isn't I mean it's this isn't R-rated either, but it's very much, it's like just it's a little bit more mature than what we've seen in some other projects. And I like that.
It's a good
It just makes it more fun.
it's a good contrast to what we just got from Miss Marvel, which is a little bit
Yeah.
more coming of age. I think it's
Yeah.
a good way to follow that up with something like this. All right, so that's our discussion of She-Hulk, Attorney at Law. I want to thank Karen Peterson for coming in and joining me again. It's always a pleasure when you get to come on and do this with me.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I love
absolutely. We
coming.
have to do it again soon. I am Travis Thompson. This has been Cinema Royale. You can find me every day at punchdrunkcritics.com and, of course, a whole bunch of other places out here in DC. All right. Thanks again, everybody. I will see you soon. Thanks for checking out the show. If you like what we're laying down, please subscribe to our channel and click the bell to receive notifications for all of our latest stuff.